everybody. But we're also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels of these music. Episode 118 of Kamloops Last week. Christopher Folds, Magic Mike, and Bill. 118. Great show today, but let's start with 18. Anything?
118. That is the address of one of the oldest buildings in Kamloops that now houses the Brownstone Restaurant, 118 Victoria Street. And interestingly enough, if we had done this last year, we could say 118 years ago it was built. But it was built 119 years ago, 1904. It's the original CIBC building in Kamloops.
Have you ever taken Monica out for dinner there?
I have not. The city took me out for dinner there, though, once as a thank you for...
part of the TNRD spending scandal. Is that what it was?
No. This was with actually mayor and council, thanking us for everything that we do for the community.
Nice.
We won an award, and they took us for dinner there. It was really nice.
What did you have?
Oh, this was a few years ago. I don't remember, but it was really good. I remember that.
Have you been there before?
Yeah, I've been there twice. I had a lunch. I had a duck confit, which I didn't like, but I'm not a duck confit guy.
Very Bachelor Heights.
And then I went to, no, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But then I went there for dinner once, and it was okay. It was good. Actually, the patio is really good in the summertime when it's really hot. We have a little patio, a little alley there. Let's go have a nice drink there.
I've still never gone. Never been.
Take your lady there.
I might do that.
Yeah.
How's your back?
It's a little sore. I kind of overdid it at the factory, I think. Lifting drywall. Literally lifting drywall.
Out in Sicky?
Yeah, in Sicky. And moving around equipment and stuff like that. But that's...
You're okay. Playing through the pain.
I'll survive. Yeah.
Great show today. We have varied guests. Our first guest is from the city of Kamloops, David Hallinan.
Mm-hmm. He's the director of corporate services, but the finance director. He's the guy in charge of the money. He advises council on the budgets and the financial implications their decisions make.
And the budget has to be adopted by April.
Mid-April.
We could see potentially a property tax hike, Mike, of close to 11%.
11%.
What does that mean to you?
Well, that coupled with what our property values are going to go up to, I'm sure. I think it's going to be quite a bit more. Probably another, I imagine 10, 15% or more already, which is going to be $3,000 a year, and $200 some odd a month. You gotta sell a lot of guitars to cover that. Just that jump, let alone the 10,000 we had from 2 years ago.
Yeah. We also have. Well, how does that actually impact you then, on a ground level?
Well, if you break everything down to. If your taxes go up by $12,000 and you have $1,000, you look at what your net margin is. You have to sell that much more per day, 20 days a week, or 20 days a month to be able to just cover the increase in costs, not let alone what it already costs.
And the domino effect is that for every business and resident who is faced with this extra burden, that's less money to go spend out in the community, which means. This is why we're in a recession technically right now. We've had 3 quarters of negative growth, which is 2 is a recession. So we're technically in a recession, and it's only going to get worse because people are going to rein in because they can't go spend, and if you can't spend, the economy doesn't grow.
Yeah. It's funny. I sometimes think that the reason why our prices have gone up so much. There's a lot of reasons, but one of them was because the shipping costs, containers, went from being like $1,000 US per container, and at the peak it was like $15,000 US for a container, and that had nothing to do with anybody other than the shipping guys going back and forth from Asia, port, whatever, to Vancouver or to wherever it was. So all of a sudden that increased the cost of your goods. So we're still seeing those goods in warehouses, still at that higher cost. And now that shipping rates have gone back down to $1,000, you're going to see that reflection come into the cost of goods that are being distributed. But it's a huge. Because you take that landed cost and then you add up for your wholesalers, for your retail, like that kind of a thing, right? So it goes way up real fast.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk a bit more about that in a little bit. We have another fantastic guest, Missy Cederholm, the Game Day.
Missy.
Do you know Missy?
Oh yeah, from the Blazers.
Yeah. She's got some pep. She's bubbly. Game Day operations manager and tickets coordinator. I might have screwed that title up, so she can correct me exactly when she gets on here. But she's going to kind of talk about the teddy bear toss. And this is all something that I'm excited about because we have a brand new sponsor on board. They're the biggest ticket in town as far as sports go. It's the Kamloops Blazers. They have signed on to have a monthly segment on our show. So every single month, they're going to have a slot on our show, and we're going to talk to them about the hockey team. Maybe we'll talk to ownership, to someone like Missy. We'll talk to players, and we will tee up some of their promotions,
Yeah.
like the teddy bear toss, which is this December 1st. And Bill, I think we can run our little intro video here just to welcome them on board.
KLW on the Blazers, the W on the Bees.
The W on the Bees. Mike, any first thoughts on the intro video there?
I think it needs a little more boom chicka wah wah on the guitar, and yeah, it's.
I think the announcer had something stuck in his throat.
Where's the fireplace and the fur rug?
That was me. And
that was like the Rick the Bear Wild there.
Yeah. The settings on iMovie, you can just change your voice.
That was you.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, that's sorcery.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like
It's
it.
good.
These teddies, there's going to be a game involved with them. You're going to want to stay tuned. Mike Miltimore's head might end up getting pelted on the magic mirror brought to you by Volkswagen.
Wait, do that again. Oh, I got to go the right direction.
Yeah. We're also going to talk about Fraser Minten. I spoke with him via Zoom. He was in Kennewick, Washington after a hurricane, a few days in his life. He was the captain of the Blazers. Friday morning, he's traded. By Saturday night, he's playing for Saskatoon in Portland. So I'm going to talk to him about his time with the Blazers, the shock of the deal being done so early, and we'll hear from him later on in KLW on Blazers. Macaranch.
Macaranch.
You know Macaranch now.
Yeah, you know, it's. I love animals, and I always feel like Ace Ventura, where he's sitting there and all the animals come to him, kind of thing. And that's the kind of love that Macaranch has for their animals.
They do care about their animals, and that's partially, first of all, it's good, clean food at Macaranch. It's a local business. It's in Turtle Valley. It's beef, it's pork, it's lamb, it's chicken. They deliver to Kamloops, but it's the pasture raising on 80 acres, Mike. And remember, I wasn't sure about what that meant, the rotational grazing, and why that leads to less pesticides?
Yes, you have to leave one fallow out of 4 for the crop.
I learned.
like
Yes.
fowl, like
fallow.
bird.
Fallow, you know, you don't.
Fallow,
you
fallow,
can't,
fallow.
you can't overdo the soil, as far as I know. You have to let it rest for a little bit.
Thanks, Bill.
They do this well in New Zealand, and they do it here now. The animals eat the grass. They dump their manure on the ground. It feeds the soil, which adds nutrients to the soil, which grows better grass, which feeds the animals next year. So
It's like
a
the
cycle.
circle of life.
Better grass, better soil, happier animals, like you said, better meat.
And probably healthier poo.
Help.
Because they're
No
eating
doubt.
the grass and it's coming through, right? So
They don't like the hormones. They don't like the pesticides, the steroids. Macaranch. Find them on Facebook. It's a great family. I've been there for Thanksgiving. I had the ham. I almost passed out. It was so good. And
Did you say I am happy now?
I am happy now. And you can email them at info@macaranch.ca. Find them on Facebook, Instagram. Brand new website, macaranch.ca. Good, clean food. And they deliver to Kamloops. Budget. A bit more on the budget now. So what do you think about this potential hike?
Well, I mean, the highest increases that Kamloopsians had endured this whole century was this year, was 7%. And that was a shock to people because historically, throughout the entire, from 2000 to now, it's been on average about 2.5% per year. COVID kind of screwed things up where every city just said no tax increase because we got to reassess everything. And coming out of COVID, you knew there'd be a couple of years probably of higher tax increases just to catch up to what we didn't charge in 2020, 2021. So, but the potential of an 11% increase is shocking to a lot of people. There's a meeting this Thursday, tomorrow. We're filming this on, November 29th?
Yeah.
On November 30th, I think at the Sandman Centre Lounge tomorrow night, there's a meeting where people can go out and talk to the city, each table with all the departments to get some more information and to provide ideas as to how to get this thing down. I have some ideas. You have some ideas. You know, it's a tough thing because everything's gone up so much.
I don't really have any ideas, but I know, Mike, you were talking last week a little bit about we've grown in Kamloops, so why, and there's new houses, so why isn't that helping our cause with taxing?
Yeah, and I realize that there's infrastructure costs, bringing sewer out to new communities, but a lot of the communities that are being built, they have to pay for that infrastructure anyways.
Part of it, DCCs.
At my house in Valley View, I've got a lot in the back that I could potentially put 2 houses on.
You would pay for the connections.
I have to pay right from the street, and I have to pay all the costs to pave, to do the setbacks, the everything, right? So the thing that the city's going to get potentially out of that subdivision, they can get 10 houses. They can get a lot of tax money perpetually.
Yeah.
You know, so like
New houses add to the tax base.
They do.
And the city's coffers.
Yes, unless you're in the tax exempt zone, which we'll ask David Hallinan about, which is interesting because right now, you know, we talked about City Gardens last week, I think it was, and it's a hundreds of millions of dollars of development going in. There's going to be about 1,000, 1,200 people there, 538 new units. The city won't see any tax revenue from that for a decade because they're in that new tax exempt bylaw zone, which encourages development. But there's no municipal property taxes for 10 years, so we can ask him, is there a pro and con to that?
We end up paying for it.
Well, I mean, we'll ask David Hallinan what's the benefit and detriment of having something like that. You attract investment, but you defer taxes for 10 years. That's a lot of money that the city's not gathering. On the other hand, if the lot was just vacant, they're not getting it anyway. So
Yeah, I think it's a tax exemption on the improvements that you make.
Yes.
So you still have to pay your whatever it would have been before if there was.
Well, if I'm moving in though, if you're moving into City Gardens tomorrow, and part of the allure, just like on the North Shore, the station where the Bright Eye Brewery is right now, it's a 47 unit condo.
Yeah.
I know people live there. They don't pay municipal taxes as an owner of the unit. You get a holiday of 10 years. I think it's 5 or 10 years. You pay your school taxes. You pay your TNRD taxes, but your municipal portion of your taxes, you get a break, which is the carrot to bring them into the build these things.
We need to attract business into town.
The Hive downtown, the Hive, that brand new business, it's a very beautiful building. They are exempt from paying municipal property taxes for 10 years. It was a big debate back in the day. So there's I understand it, but then again, you're foregoing some revenue. But then again, if nothing was built there, you got no revenue. So yeah.
Let's talk more with David about that, because we have to talk now about our weekend together, because it was one of the best ones I think we ever had. Yeah, I know you remember it better than most of us.
It's crazy, we decided to do something different again this week, because every week we try to do something different.
We try.
And instead of doing a hike or enjoying nature, we decided that we would go to Volkswagen, where right now they're low rates.
Oh, they're low rates.
Like not LOWE for Terry Low, but LOW.
Anytime
rates.
you even say Volkswagen, I can see how bamboozled he gets. It's dangerously low rates.
Doesn't know how to spell it. I know,
it's dangerously low rates because he's just wondering, I can't figure out why the rates are so low.
No.
Terry Low. So do you understand now?
I think I do now. It's the rates are low, right? They're really low.
They're low.
They're as low as they've ever been. And listen to this. There's a new lease program, which you haven't been paying attention to. You're too confused. 4.99% on the new SUVWs.
That's really low.
That's super dangerously low again.
I like SUVW. That's kind of cool.
It is. It's good. Yeah. Tiguan, Crossport, the 7-seater Atlas, and the Taos. I hope I said that right. TAOS. Maybe you don't like leasing, though. Do you like leasing?
I'm a buy it kind of guy, if I can. But I've leased vehicles. Yeah.
You don't have to be a lease guy because they have special finance rates in place now, too, Mike. Terry Low, he has it all covered. And don't forget, if you're a VW customer, they'll pay for your first 2 years of maintenance.
That's pretty good.
So that we were on the lot at the time, and you were just wandering around. Like, we had to save him a bunch of times. He's just wandering into traffic.
Well, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was I was so flummoxed by the low rates.
That, how do you spell that? FLUMAXED?
FLUMMOXED. So I was walking around and I couldn't believe the low rates. It kind of got me kind of dizzy. So I ended up on the frontage road, and of course Marty had to pull me back because a lot of trucks going back and forth there.
Well, I had to walk you straight down to McDonald's to get you back on track.
That's when we had the idea to take a Volkswagen and drive up like we were a couple kidnapper kind of dudes, and we kidnapped Chris and went to McDonald's.
And he got the peppermint hot chocolate. But guess what he did? Because he's still flummoxed and bamboozled.
I spilt it all over my shirt.
He spilled it all over himself again. Off to Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center we went, where the Black Friday sale is on.
Hey, is that deal still on where if you buy 2 appliances, you get 2 honey off? And 3, you get...
Mix and match, Mike. You know this by now. Whirlpool and the Maytag appliances. You buy 2, you save
2 honey.
You buy 3, you save
3 honey.
3 honey. Dishwashers, ovens, fridges. And this stands out to me most of all. They service what they sell. Nobody else does that. What a weekend, guys. You're finally back with it.
Yep, it was good. Yep. No, the rates got me down and off the ledge, and they're kind of low, so I'm feeling good now.
Just in time for your segment Above the Fold. It's brought to you by McDonald's.
I love coaching people. It is important for me that people grow. I love working with the staff, especially the new ones, because I love teaching. I love sharing my knowledge. For me, it's important that they feel welcome, that they do belong with the company. Another thing would be interacting with guests, especially the kids. I just love them.
This is David Hallinan, Director of Corporate Services for the City of Kamloops. We were just talking off camera for a second, and I was asking about your life and how it's going, and it sounds like it's been a pretty busy stint for you.
It's definitely been busy. We've seen some change and some staffing change in the organization, especially in the finance team, and so it's been, hair, I would say hair straight back and hair on fire, but I don't have much. So, yeah.
When he started in April, he had a big
I had a full head. I had a full fro.
Yeah.
So you've been, I think, with the city for 6 years, or since 2016, sorry, but you've been in this position since April.
Yeah.
So how are you settling into it?
I think it's a good extension from what I was doing before. I was the financial planning and procurement manager, so especially around the budget stuff and the financial world, I've got a lot of understanding and familiarity of what the city does and how things are done in that manner. Taking on a bit more responsibility. I'm fortunate I've got a great team. I've got some really capable people that know how to do their jobs and do them really well. So for me, it was a bit of an easy slide into the role, but the challenge, of course, is backfilling other roles and getting people into the positions and getting them up to speed is always a challenge.
And what do you see as your biggest upcoming challenges that you're facing?
I think the biggest challenge we're looking at, obviously outside of the budget conversation that's coming up, is really how do we start to engage the team and start looking at where are the opportunities that we can introduce a greater degree of efficiency, a greater degree of engagement with members of the public, starting to look at things like how do we roll out the ability to pay your property tax bills, your utility bills across the city, not just having to come to City Hall. How do we expand some of those capabilities, and how do we modernize some of the processes that we're seeing?
The budget and the property tax, that's why you're here, basically. Want to talk to you about that. So Folds, do you want to lead the way?
Well, this year's property tax, 2023, was about 7%, which was the highest this century, and of course it was probably impacted by the almost zero, I think, at COVID for a lot of cities.
A little bit.
And it has been historically this century 2.5% per year, right?
Yeah.
So next year we're looking at tentatively, 10.8, 11% maybe if things can't get whittled down. And I guess the question, everyone's freaking out about that. But why is that number so high right now?
What's happening? It's interesting. We talk about consumer price index inflation, and we see impact on people and cost of groceries and cost of other things, but those really aren't the things that the city buys. We're really heavily into the construction industry, and a lot of the equipment we have are specialty products. The average resident isn't buying a garbage truck or a fire truck. They're buying a compact car, perhaps a hybrid or something to that effect. So we're seeing a lot of those areas looking for resources and looking for people. And so we're seeing some sectoral inflation that is quite high. We're seeing a lot of double-digit inflation in some areas. The price of lumber is a good example. From 2016 through to last year went up 47%. Right. Those are the types of products and things that we're buying. I think the other piece that we saw coming out of COVID was there was a lot of people who decided that their work career was done and they wanted to retire. And so we're seeing a lot of challenges for staff and trying to recruit specific skills into our workforce. And we have a great group of general laborers, but we also equally have the trades folks. So we're looking for skilled tradespeople. We have a lot of professionals, accountants, engineers, planners, etc. And so we're seeing a lot of organizations who are trying to get that talent, and of course they're paying a little bit more to get it, and so that's translating into higher wages and higher contracts, and that's all rippling through.
And we have two big contracts up at the end of the year: firefighters and the city workers, QP, right?
We definitely do, and those two we have direct control over. We actually do the negotiations. The other one that I would bring up is the RCMP contract that expired at the end of March, and that's negotiated at a federal level, and we simply get told what we get.
And with the firefighters too, it's not completely independent because it's predicated on the average of 10 in the Lower Mainland, right?
Absolutely. So they do a lot of industry scanning and seeing where their peers are landing. And I think our QP contract is going to be doing that as well. I think that there's a feeling that they've lost some ground, and I think a lot of folks feeling that they lost ground with the inflation over the last couple of years and are looking to catch up. And so we're expecting to see some higher contracts based on what we've seen in the marketplace.
Will we ever get back to a 2.5% per year? I know I saw a projection a few weeks ago. It was kind of scary at saying that for the rest of this decade, don't expect anything less than what we paid this year on taxes.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. This right now, I think what we're seeing is probably shorter term contracts, which is a large portion of our costs. Those contracts will be 1 or 2 years, and then we'll have a chance to revisit, I think, in 3 years. But what we're seeing with the contract pieces is ideally if inflation starts to come back down to, I think, normal areas, then we see a lot more immigration and a lot more people coming into the country to be able to help fill those positions. I suspect we'll start to see something. We're projecting, I think, 3.5%, 4% until 2026, 2027. And then we're expecting to see some things down. I presented to council yesterday that forward-looking view, and I heavily qualified it because I'm really concerned about what's going to happen with upper levels of government. We see with every time there's an election, the money starts to flow, and you throw more money into the economy, that increases inflation again, and then who knows what's going to happen with
the change in government too. A change in government could change, like in 25, if Pierre comes in or if the Liberals stay in, that affects everything down the chain, doesn't it?
You bet.
With inflation, the contracts and everything else, we know that's the reasons for the hike, but we spoke about this last week, and there's all these homes being built. The tax base is growing.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the revenue is increasing. So where does that, doesn't that add to the coffers, and shouldn't that mitigate the 10.8, the 11, the 7% stuff?
Absolutely. So we always take into consideration the fact that the growth number is coming forward. So BC Assessment goes through and looks at the marketplace. Their cutoff date is July 1st, so they don't pick up the last 6 months of the year, but that growth number is a projection based upon what we think we're going to see as new taxes coming into the marketplace. We've taken a bit of a conservative estimate as BC Assessment has not finished their work yet.
Right.
So they will finish their activities by the end of this calendar year, and early January everybody will see what their assessment is. But at that point, it's still a little bit flexible, and folks also have the ability to phone up and say they don't agree with it and help me understand. So we always take a bit of a conservative approach until we really get locked into the number later on in the year.
So
next year.
That projected tax increase next year takes into account what you think might be the increased revenue from your tax base.
Absolutely. Okay. So in the presentation yesterday, there was a growth number of approximately $1 million that we used. Right now, BC Assessment is saying we're somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2.5. Okay. So we wanted to hedge a little bit on that, and we know it's going to change.
Okay. Why does our tax rate appear to be so much higher than other places in the province?
I don't think our tax rate is really higher, but I have heard the conversations that it's there. And I think when we look at other locations like in the Lower Mainland, there's that ability for say a Surrey and a Maple Ridge to build one arena and someone else build the pool, and they move back and forth fairly quickly. With Kamloops, I think, being a center hub, we're pretty self-sufficient in terms of supporting a lot of the local communities around us. And I think that we end up having a little bit of the because we're independent, because we're standalone, it does appear that we are higher, but then the other piece is always comparatives of what are the services that are being provided. And so our common budget process is always going back to what we're doing. We manage policing in the city for quite a bit of an area, including down into Cherry Creek and supporting some of the outlying areas. We're also a broad city. We're quite wide. We're quite wide and we're quite tall, and so we have a fairly large geographic area that we have to look after as well.
Yeah, I mean, for homes, even though the $750,000 home in Kamloops, the tax bill was $4,292. In Vancouver, same price, less than half, $2,086.
Sure, and I think contextually we have to look at exactly what you're getting for that $750,000. We used an example yesterday where in Vancouver there was an assessed value of a home in Vancouver of $1.1 million. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 959 square foot apartment. For 1.1 million in Kamloops, you're getting a 3,000 square foot house, 2-car garage, pool, 4 bedrooms, 4 bath. So contextually, value and assessed value is really dependent upon the marketplace you're in.
Yeah. Even like Chilliwack, though. Chilliwack was...
Chilliwack's much lower. Now, and Maple Ridge, which is very similar, it's not that much. It's about 269 square kilometers. We're 297, so it's not much different. But Maple Ridge, it's like 2,700 to 4,700. That's what a lot of people ask me. And I'm wondering I know the topography is a challenge here. I know density is a challenge here. But I know Prince George is way higher than us, and they're smaller than us. But is there? It just a lot of people will say, well, how come they're paying? My brother lives in North Vancouver, and he's paying half of what we're paying in property taxes. He gets his garbage picked up every week still. Yeah. So what would you say to people to say, well, why are we so high? What is the primary reasons why we're so different than, say, Chilliwack, when we're 2 hours away?
Well, I think again it goes back to we deliver probably a different level of services. I've always used the example that the percentage for Victoria, for example, probably doesn't contain much for snow removal in comparison to Prince George. And so I think depending upon the services that each of the municipalities are paying for and the things that the members of the public are looking for, that directly contributes back into what the taxation bill is.
Okay. Mike, get a question for David?
I always have questions. Last time we chatted, we chatted about the New West...
the New West Trade Partnership Agreement?
Trade Partnership Agreement.
Yes.
Thank you, yeah. And we're in an effort to bring British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan together to free up the borders. We could have purchasing decisions with the city to basically have equal footing for somebody in Saskatchewan as we do here in Kamloops. And I can understand that. But I'm wondering, I know like businesses like ours, we have issues with that because now we're competing and it's outside of our community. And I'd love, and I know we talked about this, I'd love to see a local firsting, which goes against the procurement policies of the New West Trade Agreement. And I was thinking, I can understand that with like really large scale things, but to get somebody to do snowplow removal or something here, and the local companies right here in town and supporting sporting events and all that kind of a thing, but to have to compete with somebody in Saskatchewan, in Regina, to come all this way, it's not only to have equal footing, it almost feels like we've got a preferential to go out of town because we're trying not to be local or trying to be transparent and free. I wonder if would you be interested in working with me to lobby the Northwest Trade Agreement to raise the limits so you have more autonomy to do more local things? Because I know there's a lot of companies that are looking for greener pastures. So maybe we can work with Canadian Home Builders Association is really good at lobbying, and they have this issue. The Chamber of Commerce and the Canadian Federation of Business. Maybe with your insight, we can do that so that we can keep stuff in our local community.
Yeah, I'm happy to help support that. I think key around the New West Trade Partnership Agreement is the limits were introduced in 2009. As a matter of fact, the trade agreement was introduced on April 1st, 2009, and everybody in the industry thought it was an April Fool's joke until we actually dug into it. But that's when those limits were identified, and the 25,000 threshold for direct awards and 75,000. 2009 is a long time ago, and there's been a lot of inflation, and what you could buy in 2009 for $25,000 is significantly different than what you're getting for $25,000 this year in this time frame, especially when we start looking at some of the inflationary factors that are out there. So there's definitely, from my perspective, a need for the governments to revisit those rates and look at what those procurement rules need to be around. What are the thresholds and why have they locked them in on that position and haven't moved them very much? We did reach out last year and have a conversation with the province about, is there some plans to look at it? And thus far, they've indicated no, there's nothing that they're planning on doing at this point. But I think, I think right now is a really ideal time to be able to have that conversation with the province and say, listen, inflation is hurting a lot of people. We're trying to help things going. Is there an opportunity to have this conversation?
Awesome. Okay, that's my big question.
Yeah, procurement.
Thank you.
Did you want to ask more about procurement?
Well, speaking of procurement, yeah, because I know, people say, what's the city doing to cut the fat and all this? But I know, I think you were in charge of this, and I think it was probably 2016, 17. You did a big change in the procurement process that saved the city, I think, millions of dollars. Yeah. Can you explain just in layman's terms what you changed and how that saved a bunch of money for the taxpayers?
Sure. So it was probably about 2017 when we started to really relook at what we were doing. And what we were starting to find was we were doing a lot of one-off contracts. So I have a personal feeling on tender-based contracts always create some challenges, and it results in the need for the organization to really bear all of the risk in terms of getting all the information out, getting all the quotes in place, and if you miss something, you're hit with change orders. So we've moved into working with our capital projects teams, IPDs, which is Integrated Project Delivery, where we actually align contracts with our vendors, and so our vendors are partners at the table, so they're bringing their perspective and their troubleshooting, and what that has done for us is reduce the number of change orders on projects, because they're looking at it from their best interest that we're going to share the profitability of this project amongst all the parties. And so as opposed to sub-trade, putting it higher, they're actually self-managing themselves and holding themselves accountable in terms of what is the real cost to be able to deliver this. And so we've seen some really good positive impacts on that. The Canada Games work, we came in about 2 weeks quicker than we had expected, and we were around $500,000 under budget. Right. And so we've started to see some really significant advantages being materialized by using those different processes.
All right, good.
If you were Emperor Hallinan, if you had all-encompassing power,
this could be scary
in the city, what changes would you make at City Hall in order to lower these tax rates?
That's a great question. I think the challenge with answering that question is, we have so many people in the city who have such different wants and needs. We see the people who are pro-active transportation and anti-active transportation, and how do you start to try and balance what the benefit and the value is for that? I think as we look at the increases in the rates and what's happening, materializing, I'd love to see more people being able to get employed, and that would help, I think, take some of that strain and stress off of the marketplace for employment and employment opportunities. We're seeing a lot of people jumping from job to job because they're seeing a little bit of a pay increase by going from A to B. So I think we need to create some stability in the environment and get positions filled, and then I think ultimately,
sorry, go ahead.
And then I think ultimately, then that will help, I think, really provide a benefit for the residents of the city and for the people looking for work.
Final thing, just to remind the people, tomorrow, which is Thursday, November 30th, there's going to be a public budget consultation meeting where people can come out and talk to you and other directors and the council members about this budget, get some ideas, get some input. What's the details on that? What time?
So 7 o'clock tomorrow at KLW, Sandman Centre.
Right.
We will be doing a brief presentation and trying to impart as much knowledge and information as we possibly can of what we're facing and what we're dealing with, and then absolutely happy to have a conversation with members of the public and hear what their thoughts are and share ideas with them.
And for those who are watching this afterwards or can't make it, is there an online component?
We are going to be doing an online version of the PowerPoint with yours truly voicing over some of the comments on the slides, and that'll be available on the city website probably later this week.
Excellent.
Final thoughts, Mike, from you before we let David go?
No real big final thoughts. I can't imagine what your job is like, because I'm sure it's not easy, but we do have a lot of really great things going on in our community, and I can see that. So my whole wish and goal is to have more local and stuff like that. But other than that, Kamloops is home, right? So
completely agree with you. I love what I'm doing. I love my job because I think it directly contributes back to where we live and play and all of the fantastic businesses that are here. So I appreciate the comment, and it's been a rough year. It's been a long year. So, but definitely things are fantastic, and I love what I'm doing. So,
well, we appreciate you coming in on short notice and standing in for some questions. Thanks a
you.
lot.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Last week I embarrassed myself. The questions weren't hard enough. So I went back to the drawing board. We're talking T-Swift trivia with probably the biggest T-Swift fan maybe in the world, Reese Wilson, star employee, Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. Okay, Number 1. Here's question number 1. What song did Taylor swap out early in the Eras tour for The One?
Invisible Strength.
Whoa, didn't
Is
even
it
need to
multiple
get
choice? Oh.
didn't even get to the questions, and she has nailed it, folks. 1 for 1. Ding 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 ding. Aggressive answer. Okay. Number 2. What classic book is referenced in This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things? Is it A, Oliver Twist? Is it B, The Great Gatsby? Or is it C, Scarlet Letter?
It is Gatsby, I believe.
You are correct. That's 2 for 2. Great job, Reese. Can't you go 3 for 3? Complete the sweep. Number 3. What T Swift song includes the lyric November Flush and Your Flannel Cure? I'm not going to give you any options on this one.
That's Champagne.
Oh my goodness, you didn't need the options.
One of my favorite Taylor songs.
She didn't need the options. 3 for 3. Let's go 4 for 4. True or false? Black Friday sale. Everybody needs to be at Gord's for it.
True.
True, and why?
Why, you may ask? Because we have, like I said, Black Friday sales going on. We've got Buy More, Save More on Maytag, Whirlpool, and KitchenAid, so you can cross-combine all 3 brands. So you can do buy 2, save $150, buy 3, save $300, so you can get a KitchenAid fridge.
Like this is right here. What's this? This is a KitchenAid fridge.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get this.
Match that guy with like a Whirlpool Maytag microwave.
Maytag microwave. So that you're saving $150 right there if you do that.
And then if you add, say, a Whirlpool range on top, you save $300.
KLW on the Blazers, the W on the Bees.
Okay, let's get your review of the intro video. What do you think?
It's great.
Are you okay with it?
I'm fine with it, yeah.
Not a raving review.
Not a rave. I mean,
It's just like mine. I said it's okay.
You think it needs work?
Well,
It's okay.
Missy Cederholm, Kamloops Blazers. What is your actual full title?
Game day operations and ticketing coordinator.
Okay, I might have screwed that up at the top
No, you
of
just
the
said
show.
manager. Everything else is good.
Everything was fine?
Yeah.
So what do you actually do?
It's a great question. I sell tickets, group tickets, season tickets, help out in the box office if needed, and then I do everything game day related. So anything that's on the ice in the intermissions, on the video board during the games.
This is
There's
just
a
coming to mind.
promotion.
You're probably known
I'm part of
as
it.
one of the craziest drivers in Kamloops too, due to your work on the golf cart there that you fire up on the, or is it a golf cart usually that you're out?
It was a
on the
side
ice?
by side.
Side by side.
I'm a great driver.
I worry about the people on that side by side. You're out there ripping and doing 180s and everything.
People request to go in that side by side. It's fun.
I would
Some
never
do,
be.
some don't, but I'm a great driver.
We're going to talk about actually history with you because you were with the Blazers for a long time. Then I think you went to the KYSA for a bit. Then you came back. So what has your career path been thus far?
Yeah, you nailed it there. I was with the Blazers. I started as a volunteer when I was just going to university, worked myself into a full-time position. I was there for 6 years full-time, left for 4 years to go to KYSA, and then came back last September, and I'm never leaving. They can't get rid of me now.
Did you come back? Mike, is her mic okay? Like it's kind
good.
Mike's good? Okay. Did you come back because of Memorial Cup year, or why did you come back?
I came back because the position was open.
Yeah.
Eliza, the girl who had done the job before me, was leaving, and the job was posted, so I took that as an opportunity to come back. It worked out really well that it was Memorial Cup year, but that wasn't the intent behind it. It was a bonus for
Eliza,
sure.
that's Donnie Moore's granddaughter.
Yeah.
Right. Teddy Bear Toss.
Teddy
That's
bear
why you're
toss.
here.
That's why I'm here, yeah.
December 1st, Friday night,
Friday,
Victoria
two-
Royals in
yep.
town.
That's right. Well, and I think it's one of the greatest things. My kids are now older, 24 and 22, but when I first moved here in 05, they were just little ones, and their favorite night of the year was the Teddy Bear Toss night. So, and it was started in Kamloops, and it's North American phenomenon, right? So tell the people who don't know what it is, and why they should be interested in it.
Yeah, if you don't know, Teddy Bear Night is a great promotional night. When the Blazers score their first goal, the fans all throw their teddy bears, and then we take a pause while we collect the teddy bears off the ice, and all the teddy bears are donated to charities. So the Blazers themselves will go to RAH and deliver some bears to patients that are there, and then our booster club does an excellent job of organizing all the bears, sorting them into piles, and giving them out to different groups within the community. So groups request them through the year to the Booster Club, and then they fill as many orders as they can based on the bears that we receive from fans.
Do they all go to kids, or do any seniors' homes ever want these, or anything else like that?
Yep, they go to seniors' homes as well. The RCMP takes some, I believe,
for trauma counseling.
For trauma counseling. More groups than I can list
That's
off
cool.
for sure, but definitely they're spread throughout the community. It's not one group that gets them all. It's something spread
That's really
out.
neat, because going to things like trauma counseling is a very important thing. You don't think of that when you just throw in the teddy bear. You think, okay, some kid's going to get it, but these things go and do great work.
They go everywhere.
This must be because you love stuffed animals.
I got to tell you something. I volunteered with the Blazers years and years ago. We'd bring out our Lee's music trucks out onto the ice to pack everything, all the teddy bears in. And there's so many teddy bears, and it would be like the big high cube van kind of a thing. And everybody would throw them in, and you'd get little girl guides and stuff picking up the teddy bears on the ice and stuff. And they'd huck them and throw them, and they had amazing aim. They could hit me right in the head every time. And I just remember being in the back of my cube van, because what happens is it all gets loaded up in the front end, but you have to push it all to the back of the cube van so that you can fill up literally you fill up a cube van.
Yeah.
And so I'd be inside there, waist deep in teddy bears, pulling it back.
In heaven.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing. And you know what I would love? I think to bring me back to that time of the teddy bear toss, we should do some sort of competition today where maybe I sit here and Missy, you have a couple throws, see if you can hit me in the head with the teddy bear. Nothing with any hard eyes though. Okay.
Oh, now you're being specific.
Oh yeah, now you're mitigating it here.
Particular.
They all have hard eyes.
Yeah, they do.
It's funny you bring that up, Mike, because we do have something in store for Missy. I heard she's got a rocket arm, and you're going to be throwing in a little bit here. We still got more to talk about. You're going to be throwing these stuffed animals. And if you hit Mike in the head, you are going to get a free coffee from McDonald's and a vanilla cone from McDonald's. Did you know, by the way, the teddy bear toss, Terry Lowe and Tara Holmes, their first ever date was at the teddy bear toss. I think it was 93 or 94.
And I think they got divorced at a teddy bear
At a teddy bear toss, yeah.
So it serves both purposes. It's a great event. Yes.
You mentioned the Girl Guides there, and that's just one of the different ventures that the Blazers have. And you helped me out a lot recently because I had students that came and talked to Safeway Breast Cancer Night, some people there, and the Girl Guides. So what are kind of all the promotional nights that you do throughout the year?
Yeah, you've mentioned a few of them there. The Girl Guides are actually still involved in our Teddy Bear Night too, so you'll see them out on the
same
ice.
ones?
Well,
I got a
no,
beef to pick with
they're woman guides
that one
now.
in the two ponytails.
The newer regiment of them come up, and they'll still be out on the ice helping out. But we have lots of different nights throughout the season. You're putting me on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were talking about other nights too.
We got First Nations Night.
We've got Indigenous Night, which will happen in February. We do Feed the Valley Night every year. We just had that one come up. We've got a couple of different skate with the Blazer nights. We've got Faith and Family Day coming up in February as well. We have.
I remember the bobblehead for Jermaine Lowen.
We did do a bobblehead for Jermaine Lowen. We did a bobblehead for Logan Stankoven as well last year. So
was that the Hockey Gives Blood?
That was the Hockey Gives Blood Night, and we
right.
will do the Hockey Gives Blood Night again too. So we've got that coming up. We've got
You had military
Appreciation Night passed in November. We'll have Pride Night in the spring.
Are there any games that aren't
We've got
event
First
nights?
Responders Night. We try to make every night something special because it just attracts a different crowd. It's not necessarily your hockey fan, but it's someone in the community that can resonate with what's going on in the event side of things, so that they're not necessarily coming for hockey, but hopefully they love it and then they come back.
Well, I have a new woman in my life. She's only been in the country for about 3 months. I think it'd be great to bring her to this game this weekend, just for the teddy bear toss, to see what it would be like. What is going on here?
You took her to her first hockey game
First
ever,
hockey game ever. It was amazing. Yeah. She had the ball was the puck was a ball. Periods were sets. She had no idea. She couldn't believe that they actually fought. Like she couldn't believe that people were going to actually fight each other. Well, anyway, that's my story. Let's throw some bears at Mike.
Okay.
Okay. So which one do you want to start with?
You just.
I also, if you do hit me, I do have one of these with your rocket arm. I have an actual
rockets.
rocket. Yeah, rockets.
All right.
Okay, let's see if I get this.
Are you a righty or a lefty?
So you tell me when.
Okay, I'm going to take my pitcher off.
Are you gonna duck, or are you actually gonna?
You're full on
Pelt him in the head with this.
Okay, I'm ready.
This one's. Oh, okay, 1 for 1. She's got a coffee already.
All right.
This is my childhood teddy bear, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna go shoulder there, a little off.
Yeah, a little off. Okay, this one might be like a football.
Oh,
No,
well,
that was too,
okay.
Brutal,
too light.
brutal
It's like a
toss.
ball.
Brutal toss. It was too
Funny,
light.
too, you know that?
Oh, wait, off again.
I can't throw that.
Yes, full throw. Okay, we need the angle. Okay, we got one more. My turn. No, okay, you get
No,
it.
you go. You go.
This is a special.
This is Gord.
It's Gord Stevens.
Gord
They
Stevens.
service what they sell. Oh, I think a leg got him in the chin. Okay, we're gonna give you
All
the.
right, here. You ready?
You're supposed to let. You wanted to hit her in the head with that? Is that what you're trying
Is
to
that
do?
what you're trying to do?
That's
Oh, I
Don't,
wasn't ready
don't
for that.
comment on my
I'm
sports
glad you
abilities,
still.
okay?
It's as hard as a rock. Mike.
Okay.
It's supposed to be soft. All right.
Final thoughts, Missy, from you.
Final thoughts.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a great time. I didn't know I was going to get to throw things at someone's head today. That was extra special. Oh, they're coming back. Good thing we can catch on this side.
So it's 7:00 start on Friday,
7 o'clock puck drop, first Blazers goal, teddy bears go on the ice.
and I don't even like to mention this, but in the event that there is no goal scored by the Kamloops Blazers, which
Yeah, what happens then?
what happens then?
The Bears are held and thrown at the end of the game.
That's
Worst case scenario.
worst case scenario.
We don't want that.
No.
I've been part of a lot of teddy bear nights, and I've seen a little bit of everything. I've
Yeah.
seen disallowed goals where bears are thrown.
Oh, yeah.
I've
yeah.
seen no goal scored and a 1-0 overtime loss. Anything can happen. We hope for a goal early. It's a lot easier if it happens right away, and then we can just get on with the game. But
Yeah, it's about a 15-minute delay kind of thing, right?
yeah, we just really hope that fans listen when our PA announcer makes those announcements, throw or don't throw. And once they start getting thrown, everybody needs to throw them.
Yeah.
If they wait, it just turns into chaos.
I think it's going to happen at the 12-minute mark of the first period.
12-minute mark of the first period.
We should do a pool. We'll just do
Ooh,
a
I
pool.
think we
What
have
do you
some
say?
bets going here. What do
Let's
you
do
guys
$5
gonna
each here.
Okay, well, why don't we take a period each? I'll say it happens in the second period.
I say first.
You say first,
I'll take third.
and if it's our period, you each get $10 from the other guy.
Sure, we're in.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I was going
Ooh,
to say
I'm doing
something.
a
I had
bet
something
and
to
a
say.
sports bet. I've never done that before.
And a sport.
Oh, I had something to say. Couldn't do it that interesting. Okay, thanks, Missy. That was
Thanks.
Volkswagen.
fun. Missy was fun.
Yep.
We talked about Fraser Minten a little bit. He scored the teddy bear toss
Last
goal
year.
last year.
That's right.
So he will not score it this year.
No, he won't.
Because he was traded on Friday. Mike, do you have any clue what's going on with this, or?
I really don't. And I was just going to ask you, can you tell me in like layman's terms? So Fraser Minten, he was
Yes.
doing really great. Wasn't he like team captain with the Blazers or something?
Yes, he was named team captain. He was the captain for 7 games, and then he was traded away. He's 19 years old. He's a Toronto Maple Leafs prospect, best player on the team. It was time to pay the piper for their trades that they had made to load up for the Memorial Cup. So they traded away a lot of assets, a lot of draft picks, and got players last year so they could go and try and win the Memorial Cup. Now their team is not doing so well in the standings. They're the last in the Western Conference. Fraser knew this was going to happen at some point, but definitely wasn't expecting it to happen this soon.
So if they loaded up last year, wouldn't that give them a stacked deck for this
No,
year?
the players that they traded for, 2 in particular, are now gone because they've graduated.
They either graduate because they're too old, or they go off and play pro hockey.
Yeah.
And that was the gamble.
The gamble
The
is
gamble.
you pull in these 2 great players and you give out a lot of draft picks. Now they're trying to get those draft picks back for the next few years.
And they did get two first round
and a
draft
fourth.
picks and a 4th round draft pick, and they also got a player, Jordan Keller.
Who?
His father is Aaron Keller, who won 2 Memorial Cups with the Blazers in the 90s, and he's also the club's
with them now.
director of player
So it's
personnel.
got a
That's my
homecoming
alarm.
of some kind.
Oh, it's happy time.
Actually, that alarm was for Jordan Keller, who I have to call right now. I'm supposed to. He's the player that got traded here. He's 18 years old, and they love this player. He hasn't been buried in the lineup in Saskatoon, but he's been playing behind a very deep veteran group that Saskatoon, they're going to make a run at in the league.
yeah.
So he was further down the depth chart. They think that now he's going to be he was getting about 15 minutes, 13 minutes ice time in Saskatoon. He's going to get like between 22 and 25 minutes.
And
top
he's a local
6.
boy.
Well, he actually grew up in Japan.
Right, because his dad
was playing in Japan.
for 16 years.
Yes,
right?
and coaching. I think he was playing and coaching in Japan.
Yeah.
He did end up moving back here for the start of his teenage years, and he went and billeted in Abbotsford and played for Yale Hockey Academy.
Yeah.
Jordan Keller.
So he must speak Japanese and English.
Yes, he does. I think his Japanese was his first language.
Very cool.
There is going to be always criticism with these types of trades. People will say, well, why didn't you wait longer? And perhaps teams are more likely to give more back to you in that scenario.
Closer to the playoff, trade deadline and all that, yeah.
Closer to the deadline.
I think they got 2 firsts and a fourth. That's not bad at all.
Basically, what Sean Clouston told me was they weren't too concerned about that. They set the market. They got what they wanted, which was 2 first-rounders. And this player, he said it could not have been a greater fit for us. So they're happy with it.
Good.
Fraser, we're going to play a clip right now. So I talked to him on Monday night. So he was traded on Friday. He thought he was going to be playing in Kamloops that night. His parents were going to come up to watch him play. Him and his brother, his younger brother, plays on the team too, Bryce. And instead of playing that night, he's traded in the morning, and he's playing for another team the next night, Saskatoon in Portland. And he actually scored a goal and had an assist in the loss. And then on Monday night, I had time to talk to him. He was in a hotel room in Kennewick, Washington, and here's a few of the things he had to say.
It's a little bit of a shocker, the timeline. I knew it was going to happen. We discussed that, and anyone who understands the game knew it was going to happen just based on how junior hockey works. That's usually the way things go if a team's struggling and can get some good assets back for players. So I knew it was coming, but thought maybe more of a timeline, kind of like the trade we had for Zelly last year, where it's following Christmas, kind of right at the deadline there. So I was not necessarily ready for it that soon, which made it a little bit more difficult, I think.
Was there an emotional moment, something that kicked in for you during that process?
I think, giving guys like Toledo a goodbye hug, I think that's really, really hard too. Guys who put in the work behind the scenes and make everything happen and are just amazing human beings every day that, give everything without asking for anything in return. And more so those guys who live a little further away. It's you never know if it's going to be the last goodbye or not. So that's probably the most emotional part.
Just a few more here. I want to ask you about the organization in general.
It's life-changing what the Blazers did for me there. Starts with, Robbie Sandlin, Matt Bardsley, they're the scouting staff, and having the belief to draft me. The belief that those guys from Cluey, Tim, Matt, when he was there, and Robbie just kind of instilled in myself, and all the other coaches that were there as well while I was there, from Mark Hollick to Don Hay, Aaron Keller, Chris Murray. Everybody just really gave me a lot of confidence and really believed in me, and I think that went a long way in my development. And owe a ton to the organization and everybody that is a big part of it.
Do you have a top 3 Fraser Minten moments in your Blazers career, or top 1 or 2 or 3 that really stand out as like big moments for you?
Yeah, I think I could nail down number 1 pretty easily. I think the game 5 against Seattle when I was 17 there in the playoffs, when Keefe scored that double, or that OT winner there.
I remember that one.
Put us up 3-2 in the conference final. That was, one of the best moments in my career. I thought, it was so much fun that game, and that was such a big win for us. Getting the back-to-back hat tricks against Kelowna was pretty cool last season as well. And then playing in the Memorial Cup, probably I'd say those 3 were the coolest things that happened during my time as a Blazer for me.
I remember the shorty against Vancouver on the road in the playoffs to close it out as being one of them. That doesn't get up there for you, eh? That's not up there.
No, I remember that for sure. That'd probably make top 5, top 10 for sure. I think that was a big goal. It kind of sealed the series from that point on there.
Any regrets?
I don't think so. Honestly, the only thing I could say I would have rather achieve throughout my time as a Blazer would be a WHL championship and a Memorial Cup championship there. But, I can honestly say that I did everything I could in those playoff games and those moments to try to achieve those goals. So I don't think that leaves too much room for regret.
Your top 3 moments, the number one was a team moment. It wasn't you, it was about Dale and Kiefler. And I think that, again, speaks to your character. It's been said a bunch, whether it be on social media or by Keener, but I think you leave a great legacy here. A lot of maturity, great to deal with all the time with the media. So thanks to you. And I know that we wish you all the best in Saskatoon and Toronto and in the NHL and whatever comes your way.
Thank you, Marty. Yeah, appreciate it very much. And look forward to being back up there. Hopefully get to see everybody down the road. But thanks for everything over the years as well.
Well, when you're a big deal in the NHL, don't screen my calls, okay?
Yeah, you bet. Still take them anytime.
Okay, take her easy. See ya.
Thanks, Marty.
Yeah, bye-bye.
See ya.
I think it's a good trade. He's not going to be in the league next year. He's too good. He's going to be with the Leafs probably, if not with the Leafs, with the Marlies. And I think to get two firsts and a fourth and a local kid back, it's great. And you're going to see more of these trades, right?
I have a bone to pick, and people still get upset. So the league made changes already that you cannot trade 15 and 16-year-old players, and 17-year-old players, if they're going to be traded, they have to waive their no-trade clause.
Yeah, well,
which makes sense.
The Bedard thing last year, that came up in the Bedard talks.
Yes,
remember?
and people think that it's not right to rip these young men away.
15, 16, sure.
So I agree with that, but Damien Cox, he's a Canadian sports media.
Toronto Sun or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know if he's actually where he works now.
He used to be at the Sun.
He's a Canadian sports media personality. He came out and quote tweeted, Keane did an interview with Minten, good interview, and Damien Cox quote tweeted it and said, "Junior hockey allows young men like this to be traded in the middle of the season. Disgusting." Sounds like something you would say. I think that's ridiculous.
No, it's the context. He's 19. He's almost, he is a man, and it's a totally different situation when you have a 15-year-old, exemption player, or a 16-year-old. The difference between a 16 and a 19-year-old is vast.
Yes.
in the WHL and in life, and I don't think they're any worse for the wear for being traded.
And for me, the argument that I would make is from a development side. The Western Hockey League calls itself the best junior hockey development league in the world. They prepare players for the next level. Well, what happens in the NHL? You get ripped out of places, you get traded, your family, you have to rip your family away from schools sometimes, not all the time, but this is part of the development of these players when you're that old. And they understand it. Fraser understands that that's part of the sacrifice you make for potentially becoming a $1 million hockey player, for chasing your dream. And I would say that these teams, for the vast majority of them, treat their players very well throughout their careers. They're treated essentially like they get great hotels and great
like
buses.
NHLers at that level.
Great coaching.
And they also get a year of tuition for every year they play, so they get free education at the end.
Yeah, so I just think it was a ridiculous tweet on Damien's behalf there.
Yeah, you should reply to him.
Well, like you, I'm going to have probably a few PBRs and get on the Twitter. Any thoughts on that conversation, Mike?
What conversation?
I guess it was just me talking, right?
Yeah, I agree. 15 years old being ripped out of your area is it'd be tough. I changed schools a lot when I was younger, and that was tough enough.
Yeah, but when you're 19, it's a total difference between 16 and 15.
He knows what he's doing for his career path. He knows where he wants to go, and he knows this is the best thing for what he's trying to do.
He just spent a month in Toronto with the bigs, traveling with them. He knows the deal. He texted you from Nashville to say, And
another thing that they liked about this was he was not going to be here for the World Juniors time anyway. He'd be gone. Like his last home games would have been this past weekend, I think, and then he's gone to World Juniors, and this Jordan Keller guy is going to be around for all of that.
For all of December, yeah.
But Fraser is more than happy. I mean, it was hard for him, extremely hard for him to be ripped away. He said he had an hour to go and meet his teammates and coaches at the rink, and half of them weren't there because the younger kids were still at school. So he said bye to his best friends that he's known for 4 years and his coaches within an hour. He had an hour to go home, have a grilled cheese sandwich, and he was on a plane. Gone.
Wow.
Just like that.
And he scores a goal and assist.
Yeah. So watch the whole YouTube clip of that interview. It's about 15 minutes long. You can find it on Kamloops Last Week. That's our YouTube page, and we can wrap the show. Thoughts on the show?
Good show. Eclectic show. We had Missy bombarding Mike with the stuffies, and we had some good information on the budget process, and that's a very contentious point. If you listen to people talking about their tax increases, it's hard. Life is hard right now, and times are tough, and the last thing we need is a huge tax increase. So hopefully they can cut some things down and say we're gonna bring it in. Foremost of which would be that ridiculous millions they put aside for the true overpass. That's probably the biggest waste of money the city has done since I've been here, and it's an absolutely ludicrous thing, and they should pull that back right now, and that would probably bring it down to 7-8% right there.
Is that the walking paths to go?
Yes, the proposed overpass going. I think it's $3 million. It's millions of dollars.
What are the
wasted
benefits
money.
of it?
There are no benefits. They say
there
it's
must
gonna
be some benefits.
Well, it's for pedestrian safety because the students don't want to walk a few minutes up to cross at the light.
You don't care about the safety of the students?
No, what's going to happen is you're going to have this thing going across, and then people are still going to be walking under it because it's easier to cut this way. And if it is needed, and if it's truly needed, then the university should pay the full bill on this thing. It's for the students there. It's not for the general public. The university should pay it all. In my mind, it's a waste of money.
We also had basically the beginnings of a new trade agreement, the Mike Miltimore.
The Mike Miltimore Trade.
The MMTA.
The MMTA, yes.
New West Trade Agreement, addendum.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that, actually, because I know that I've been talking with a lot of other business owners, a lot of business groups in town that all have the same issue. There should be a local first policy, because at the beginning of our community, you'd have like a hunter and gatherer, or you'd have a blacksmith and a grocer kind of a thing. And you supported each other, and you built the community up from there. With this New West Trade Agreement that they have had, that means that somebody from Regina that wants to do music in the park, I have to compete with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it should be. You're doing business in your community, you get business from your community, then that stays in the community.
Bill Sarai was on board with you when you brought that up to him. He says, I agree.
Makes sense.
I think a lot of businesses and residents will agree, but I think there will be some businesses that will be against it because a lot of their business is going to other places to bid on contracts. So they, the ones who have a lot of business elsewhere, companies that do business elsewhere, they might say, well, hold off here because that's going to inhibit my company from doing jobs in Golden and Siki and in Calgary or whatever, right?
Like we do a lot of business up in Prince George or Banff, right?
So you'd be okay with saying that local would be more weighted?
Well, would I prefer to stay in my community and be prosperous and work in my community? Absolutely.
Yeah. I just can't believe that you don't care about safety of the students. You prefer them to kamikaze across Summit Drive.
Well, I'd like you to produce results that show you how many, if any, pedestrians have been hit crossing there in the since I've been here in 05. I bet you there's zero.
I've been that person.
Well, yeah, and that's your own fault. You guys, that's what the softness of this generation today. They can't walk another 10 minutes to go up, do the crosswalk. They got to save 5 minutes so they can have a smoke before they're
vape.
Yeah, they probably vape, and they listen to the headphones, not watching where they're going. But I tell you right now, if I'm wrong, and if someone can pull up.
Why don't we get
someone
here next week?
Pull up a stat. To show me how many. If one pedestrian has been hit crossing there, a student from True, I'll buy you dinner if you can show me one since I've been here in 05.
At the Brownstown.
I'm guessing that there probably has been one.
A Happy Meal on me if you can prove it.
Happy Meal.
If you can prove it, and I bet I'm right. So what are we doing? I like Arjun Singh's idea of a gondola from Mac Island better than I do of this thing right here. That's a great idea. They have one in Pittsburgh. I was on. It's a fantastic thing.
A gondola to Mac Island?
Yeah, a gondola from Mac Island
Why do you
to
say
True.
Gondola?
Gondola.
Just gondola. Like last week you had a weird Krakatoa. You said Krakatoa or something.
Like
Matty
Krakatoa.
Dunstan. No, you didn't. You were way off.
Jeremy Keneshaw.
Jeremy Keneshaw as well.
Is okay? Is that a gondola or a gondola? The one you go through in Venice.
I've never heard of
that's and then there's
into the dola.
And then there's a gondola.
You're talking about like a sky.
No, but are they pronounced differently or the same? Because
they're pronounced the same.
There's a gondola and there's a gondola. Or there's a gondola.
I've never heard of gondola in my life.
Okay, so
that's
gondola.
an Abbotsford thing on the way to the highwayman. You take a gondola.
I know what you meant with gondola.
Nevertheless, gondola. I think
Gondola.
I think
Bill says gondola.
the idea that came out of Arjun Singh had an ideas meeting a few years ago, and one of the residents had this idea, and he ran with it. And I think, and people thought it was kind of loopy, but I think it's been done in other cities, and it's actually kind of neat. And you have it going across.
I can't believe you want that instead of an overpass. That is
here's why I like it. Here's what I like better, because actually it's going to be more people can use it.
You can take 4 people at a time
for more reasons. And it's not just a bridge for lazy students who can't walk up and cross it. In my day, we would walk up and cross it.
One of the lines is going to snap. People could end up in the Thompson.
But you know
well, if you do local procurement, that won't happen.
Somebody from Saskatchewan will build the thing.
But you know, you're right. That would be interesting. It would be different. They're looking at doing something like that in the Okanagan, just above Vernon at Predator Ridge.
Yeah.
They wanted to do it up to the peak and have some restaurant up there.
They have it's not exactly a gondola, but it's a similar thing in Pittsburgh. I was on. They have one in LA. They have one, I think, in Santa Fe. It's not as crazy as it sounds. And even if it's luxurious and we don't need it, it's far less so than this stupid overpass idea, which is going to cost millions of dollars. Fewer people use it, and there's no real need for it.
Gondola directly to Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center, I'd be in favor of, because they've helped our show so much for almost 2 years now.
So much. One of the OGs.
Yep, Steve Rogers. They're the OGs, just like McDonald's too. They've been with us for a long, long time. Brandy Seacon at McDonald's, and Terry. Low rates at Volkswagen. Those SUVWs.
Love it.
The low rates are on right now. And we welcome the Kamloops Blazers on board today too. KLW on Blazers. We can't do the show without our sponsors.
They let us take care of business.
They did. We had to get a taking care of business pun in. We have another meeting tomorrow, so maybe some more news to talk about next week. I like that segment was great. I mean, if you are interested in maybe having a segment on KLW, you can email me at kamloopslastweek@gmail.com. For Christopher Folds, for Magic Mike, for Bill, I'm Marty. We'll see you last week. Hello?